It is an alert day. I have seen warnings that have come across that I don't often see in my career. One of those is a flash flood emergency, catastrophic damage expected. And
the farther north you go, we are in Hamptonville right now, and the farther west you go, the situation gets worse and worse. Watauga County's Emergency Services Director says they are arms deep in the recovery phase right now. He could not tell me number of injuries or number of buildings that have been damaged. He did, however, as you mentioned, use the word catastrophic. Have you ever seen it as bad as what we've seen today?
No, I have not. This is the worst I've seen it.
Incredible images from on and around the campus of Appalachian State University in Boone, all thanks to Helene. The situation described as catastrophic by Watauga County's Emergency Services Director, with some areas seeing record flooding and damage.
The next closest storms we've had were Ivan, Charlie, and Hugo. Ivan and Charlie didn't come close. Hugo did, but this is much worse than Hugo because the damage is much more widespread and the rainfall much more widespread over the county.
A few miles away from campus, just off 421, Brookshire Park turned practically into Brookshire Lake thanks to the raging New River nearby. The water was so powerful, it picked up and set down dumpsters.
From Charleston, so it's rare to see hurricane band winds and rain this far inland.
Mobile alerts like this one warning of flash flood emergencies and life-threatening situations, keeping everyone on edge and wondering when the water would recede. Many people throughout the county without power and communication infrastructure severely damaged as well.
I'm a little bit stressed, worried about, members of my community, everybody staying safe and being able to get where they need to be. And just making sure everybody's got food, water, all that.
We're just going to have to come together as a community, and that's what Boone's always been very good at doing.
In a text message I heard from one of the people we interviewed in this story tonight, he told me there is essentially no internet in Boone right now. There is also a boil water advisory in effect and a low water pressure advisory as well. Emergency response officials tell WXII their top priority right now is restoring and making emergency repairs to critical roads. Many, many days, if not weeks, before Boone and Watauga County go back to the way they looked prior to today. Live tonight in Hamptonville, Kenny Beck, WXII 12 News.
From the high country to the foothills, the recovery is just beginning in the wake of Helene.
And here's what we know tonight. 42 storm-related deaths have been confirmed in North Carolina, and that number is expected to rise. At least 150 people in total died in the storm across the southeast.
And part of a major highway is back open now. I-40 eastbound from Buncombe County to McDowell County reopened to traffic. However, non-emergency travel is still banned in the mountains and many local roads remain closed.
And President Joe Biden is scheduled to visit North Carolina tomorrow. He'll take an aerial tour of the areas impacted by Helene, receive operational briefings, and meet with those first responders.
And we are bringing you team coverage now at 6. Let's begin with WXII 12's Chris Peterson. He is in Old Fort in McDowell County and spoke with two business owners who are now having to rebuild their lives.
The Whaleys opened this brewery in downtown Old Fort after years of farming. It may be months before they can reopen, but they consider themselves lucky. Chris Whaley broke down as he talked about the destruction in Old Fort and the needs of this community. Whaley and his wife Jessica own Whaley Farm Brewery in downtown Old Fort. It sits on the banks of Mill Creek, which flooded when Tropical Storm Helene came through.
I mean, it's pretty much totally devastated, but the walls are up, so that's great. And, from there, we'll just have to see. The more we dig and the more we sort of sift through everything and see what's salvageable and whatnot.
You can hear the emotion in Whaley's voice as he describes how he and his wife climbed out of their home and made it into town.
We climbed out, and then luckily our neighbors drove us, so we were able to get on the highway and come through.
What was that like for you?
Oh, stressful, but we were all alive. All of our friends and family are alive, so it's good.
Whaley says he was shocked as they drove through Old Fort and saw the destruction.
'Destruction. Just seeing everybody walking around seemed like, it was just, 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 it everybody was in the same mental space. We just don't know what to do. And I'm sure a lot of people walking around because they don't have homes right now. So.
Whaley says once the mud and debris is cleared, they'll have to check the building to make sure it's structurally sound, a process that could take months.
Yeah, it'll be major issues getting in to see if it's going to be structurally salvageable in most parts. But
Jessica Whaley says despite the mess, she feels lucky.
There's towns like Chimney Rock is completely gone, the whole town, just wiped off the map. Swannanoa, really bad. So I feel like we're lucky, we're better off than most.
The Whaleys say they're grateful for friends and a community of entrepreneurs who are helping each other clean up. In Old Fort, I'm Chris Peterson.
We have team coverage as North Carolina begins recovering from the devastation left by Helene. Sarah Sowers is in Wilkes County, but we want to begin with Lindsay Klein in Watauga County. Lindsay, people there have a long road to recovery ahead, and it's scary because so many of these communities are cut off. They're isolated.
People have been coming here to Watauga High School all day, getting the supplies they need, whether that be food and water or things like toilet paper. Take a look at what's going on inside the Watauga High School gym. It's pretty packed right now with people coming to collect any necessities that they may need. Neighbors are really helping neighbors. It's been really heartwarming to see the community coming together in the wake of such devastation.
A pledge from the president just minutes ago. President Biden said federal relief will continue until the Tar Heel state, our people, neighbors are back on their feet.
In the meantime, dozens are dead, hundreds still missing here after Helene. President Biden toured the devastation by air, getting a look at some of the areas that have been wiped off the map. He says the federal government will cover 100% of the costs of debris removal for the next 6 months.
This as we are hearing more life-altering stories. We have team coverage on the destruction and the relief efforts. We begin with Chris Peterson in Swannanoa. Chris.
Emily Russell says she's thankful to be alive after floodwaters left her stranded in her childhood home for hours with no way of knowing if help was on the way.
I mean, I really thought I was just going to, drown in my own house.
Emily Russell says she was home alone early Friday morning when she found herself surrounded by water.
I mean, it was literally like you were stuck on an island, and I just didn't know what to do. There was no leaving the house at that point.
Russell says she watched from her window as cars and RVs floated by. Then she heard part of the house collapse.
When you start hearing that, it's almost like a movie. And then the front door, the water pushed it in, and it pushed in the back door, and within 30 seconds, it went from the ground to neck level.
Russell says she and her dog floated on a mattress in her home for nearly 8 hours, hoping to be rescued.
It's like you go from this scariest feeling in place to almost peaceful, because it was like you were already so scared, and your body's getting cold from being in the water, and you're getting sore from just shaking from being in the water, and it's just like your body almost goes numb. And
it wasn't until 6 in the evening when Russell's husband David was able to reach her.
And the minute I seen him, I thought this is my only chance to get out, and so me and the dog took off down the front yard. But the currents were so strong that I only made it maybe 10 feet, and I had to yell to them like I can't walk anymore, or it's going to take me.
All day we are teaming up with the American Red Cross for Triad Together Helene Relief 12-a-thon. WXII 12's Kenny Beck joins us live from the organization's location in Winston-Salem with the latest.
And Kenny, we're already seeing neighbors helping neighbors. It's a good sight to see.
It sure is, Devontae. Lindsay, good evening to both of you. I'm dating myself maybe a little bit here, but I think of the old Mr. Rogers quote, look for the helpers when something terrible happens. Yes, it's important to focus on what has occurred, but also you will be buoyed by looking for the helpers. And we have so many helpers here. We've received so many phone calls and emails ever since the first raindrops started falling on Friday, asking what can I do to make life just a little bit better for these poor folks in the western part of our state. Many of them are our family members or our children who are at one of the many universities out that way. And you guys have answered the call today already in a remarkable way. But as we've reported, this is going to be a multi-week, likely multi-month project, it could take years before some communities are back to the way they were before Friday. So many great ways to give. QR code is on your screen. You can also do it the old-fashioned way, 855-977-GIVE. Want to bring in Mike DeCinti. He is with the American Red Cross. We just got the right at the top of the hour update. $114,000 raised.
Amazing.
Just today alone, and about $15,000 in just the last hour. What do you think about that?
It's amazing. And Kenny, I truly want to thank you and your viewing audience. Jackie out here earlier today. You guys put in a long day trying to support those that are going to need the American Red Cross and the support of their neighbors for a long time to come.
Yeah, I've been with WXII for more than 23 years, and we have partnered with the food bank that entire time. This food drive is larger than any we have ever had, and the tremendous outpouring of love and support coming from you all is just incredible, and we want this to continue. We'll be wrapping up at 6:30 physically here, but as you heard, this need is going to continue. So there's a QR code down at the bottom of the screen, and if you're sitting at home right now, that is your way to donate if you can't make it out here this afternoon, this evening. These are some of the items. This is beyond food. We're talking about cleaning supplies, right? The folks there who have lost everything need that. We're talking about meals that you don't need a can opener for, right? There's beef stew here. We've got peanut butter. We also have fruit, and also think about breakfast time, right? Instead of a box of cereal, this time we're asking you to bring the bowls, and yeah, there's no refrigeration, so we're going to need milk that is actually in cartons. I'll tell you what is happening out here, what you've seen, I should say, is, pictures and images that'll break your heart, but what's happening out here is warming people's hearts and giving them a light and a beacon of hope.
The depths of your generosity are showing no limit. You donated close to $245,000 and more than 33,000 pounds of food, water, and supplies. That was Thursday. On Tuesday, of course, we had our big 12-a-thon with the American Red Cross. Piedmont Triad, between those two events, is sending almost $500,000 to Western North Carolina.
We begin with breaking news out of Greensboro. A large police presence near a Food Lion store. We have an image from a DOT camera, and you can see multiple police cars, a lot of officers also on scene, and part of the area roped off with crime scene tape.
From WXII 12 News, this is breaking news.
We're continuing to follow breaking news. Greensboro police say an officer was involved in a shooting inside the Food Lion on Lawndale Drive. It took place this morning, and our Joshua Davis is at the scene now live for us. Joshua, what's it looking like now?
Well, Lindsay, as you can possibly see behind me, there are still, let me actually move out the way, there are still quite a few police cars here, dozens of cars, if not more. What we know so far is that this is an officer-involved shooting. We don't have an accurate timeline of events just yet, but I can tell you I was able to speak with a woman who was inside this Food Lion when events unfolded. She said she was shopping. She heard what sounded like 4 gunshots from 2 aisles over, and chaos ensued. She had to be helped out by an employee. We're currently waiting to hear more details from GPD at a news conference at 3 today.
We're following breaking news. A shooting involving an officer in Greensboro that happened at the Food Lion on Lawndale Drive this morning. We are about to hear from police for the first time. Let's go ahead and listen in.
First, we want to honor the life and service of Officer Michael Horan, who was killed in the line of duty this morning. Together we are mourning Officer Horan, who was a husband, a father, a son, a friend, and much more to his family.
A police officer has died after he was shot inside a Food Lion grocery store.
Officers responded to a store on Lawndale Drive around 11 a.m. Police say Officer Michael Horan was shot and killed in that Food Lion.
We have team coverage this Monday afternoon on this investigation. We begin the 4 o'clock hour with our Joshua Davis. He joins us now with new details investigators just shared moments ago.
Now here's some video of the arrest that happened a few hours after the shooting. The SBI says the suspect was spotted in Johnston County and led deputies on a chase into Sampson County. Highway Patrol took over the chase and used the pit maneuver to bring it to an end on I-40 at the Duplin County line.
Authorities have not released any details about the suspect other than the fact that he is in custody tonight and charges are pending. Greensboro police have since set up a memorial both inside and outside their headquarters, and that's also where we find our Kara Peters tonight.
And Kara, you spoke with one of Officer Horan's good friends. How is he remembering him tonight?
Well, Devontae and Christine, Michael Lawrence knew Officer Horan as Junior. They met in 1998 and have remained friends since then.
Terrell McMillian, the man accused of shooting and killing Greensboro police officer Michael Horan, appeared in court for the first time this morning.
Our Chris Peterson was also in the courtroom and has details about the charges that suspect is facing. He joins us live tonight.
Devontae, this morning's first appearance lasted a little less than 4 minutes. Judge Michelle Fletcher formally charged Terrell McMillian with first-degree murder in the shooting death of Greensboro police officer Michael Horan. The atmosphere in the room was incredibly intense as former and current Greensboro police officers watched the family of fallen officer Michael Horan walk into court, escorted by Police Chief John Thompson.
Terrell McMillian, you are before me for a first appearance today.
McMillian appeared via video monitor as District Court Judge Michelle Fletcher read the list of charges he faces.
You are before me today because you have been charged with first-degree murder of Greensboro police officer Michael Horan. The maximum punishment you could face on that if you were convicted is the death penalty, and/or life in prison without parole.
This all started Monday morning when employees at the Food Lion on Lawndale Drive called police to report a man in the store with a gun. According to the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation, Officer Michael Horan was the first at the scene and confronted McMillian. During a struggle, McMillian shot and killed Officer Horan.
And to put it simply, we're heartbroken. I want to express my love and my support for the Greensboro police family, a family that I served along with for 17 years before stepping into this role. This is truly a family, but a family that has been tested today.
Hours later, McMillian was arrested by the North Carolina Highway Patrol after leading troopers on a miles-long chase that ended on the Duplin and Sampson County line.
You will currently have the Capitol Defender's Office representing you.
Back in court, McMillian was also charged with 2 counts of fleeing to elude to go along with the first-degree murder charge and was appointed an attorney from the Capitol Defender's Office. McMillian's bond is currently on hold, meaning he will stay in the Guilford County Jail until his next court appearance. And that next court appearance is March 20th. No new information was shared in court today about what led up to the shooting on Monday morning inside that Food Lion on Lawndale Drive. In Greensboro, I'm Chris Peterson, WXII 12 News.
I choose to remember Sarge by his smile, his leadership, and all-around unselfishness.
His passion for making this community that he had grown up in a better place, and his leadership qualities were obvious from the beginning.
Thank you, Sergeant Nix, for your service, for your sacrifice, and the indelible mark you've left on our hearts. Rest in peace, brother. He will never be forgotten.
This afternoon, an emotional goodbye to a Greensboro police sergeant.
Philip Dale Nix was laid to rest today after he was shot while attempting to stop an alleged crime. We have team coverage for you of today's procession and service, as well as the tributes continuing to pour in tonight for the fallen hero.
Devontae, Christine, good evening to both of you. The family section and the colleague section, law enforcement, family, loved ones, beginning to fill up here. A group of folks that, if you watched Sergeant Dale Nix's funeral services live on our air just a few months ago, they're certainly familiar faces. A lot of folks from the Family Justice Center, a lot of folks from the Greensboro PD. They just arrived and sat down moments ago.
Lady, thank you. And now to a WXII 12 News exclusive. Two of the suspects arrested in the death of Greensboro Police Sergeant Philip Dale Nix just faced a judge.
Joshua Davis joins us live tonight from the Guilford County Courthouse. Joshua, what did they push for in court today, and what were the arguments just made?
WXII 12 News. This is breaking news.
We are coming on the air now with breaking news out of Charlotte. Multiple officers have been shot there.
The Charlotte Mecklenburg Police at this hour say the U.S. Marshals Task Force, which has officers from multiple agencies, was conducting an investigation on Galway Drive.
Charlotte Mecklenburg Police say officers from multiple agencies in a U.S. Marshals Task Force were conducting an investigation in that area when they came under fire. So far, no official word on any injuries to those officers at this time.
Let's get right out now to Kara Peters, who is live in Charlotte for us tonight. Kara, police just shared new details literally minutes ago. Bring us up to speed.
In just a few hours, the man regarded as North Carolina's favorite son will be honored in our nation's capital.
A statue of evangelist Billy Graham will be unveiled. Our Chris Peterson joins us live this morning in the U.S. Capitol. Chris, tell us about the statue and the artist behind it.
Well, Audrey, I'm standing on the Capitol grounds this morning, not far from where a statue honoring the life of the man known as America's pastor, the late Reverend Billy Graham, will be unveiled.
From across the state and our nation's capital, this is WXII 12 Commitment 2024 General Election Coverage.
North Carolina! Oh my goodness. And I am so honored that you have elected me to be your next governor.
So I'm standing here now and I'm not sad one lick. I'm a little disappointed. I'm disappointed for you because I wanted this so bad for you. I'm standing here now, folks. Guess where my head is? My head is held high.
This is our North Carolina. This is our home.
WXII 12's election coverage continues right now.
And we are back now with breaking news. We have a projected winner in the biggest prize on the ballot in North Carolina.
And here it is. The 16 electoral votes go to Donald Trump. He is the projected winner in the state of North Carolina.
Josh Stein, the projected winner, North Carolina's projected governor-elect. Let's go to Chris Peterson. He joins us now from the Stein Watch Party in Raleigh. Chris, looks like there's still a pretty decent crowd there.
Yeah, Kenny, there is a bit of a crowd. It has thinned out considerably since Josh Stein gave his acceptance speech.
Early voting began this morning at 8 a.m. and will continue all the way through the Saturday before the election, November 2nd.
And we have seen some packed lines already, with many people choosing to get a head start on selecting our next leaders. Our team is spread out across the Piedmont, even the state today.
We'll get to everybody within just the next few minutes, but we want to start tonight with WXII 12's Joshua Davis, who joins us live from Louisville. Joshua, a lot of excitement for the first day of voting, and if I can see it on the 6 box that we have here on the screen, looks like a lot of people still in line at this hour.
Well, that's exactly right, Kenny. There is a lot of excitement as well as a lot of surprise by volunteers and voters by how many people actually turned out. If you look right here behind me in Clemens and obviously here in Louisville, there are people lined up out the door.
WXII 12's Devontae McKenneth went to Buncombe County today to speak with early voters there. He has our report.
What is it that you think needs to be done to make the economy stronger?
What one issue do you think will win North Carolina for you and Vice President Harris?
And in just a matter of hours now, former President Donald Trump and his running mate J.D. Vance will be in Asheboro for the first outdoor rally since an assassination attempt on Trump's life just weeks ago. We have team coverage of the GOP tickets campaign stop. Our Joshua Davis spoke with supporters who traveled far and wide to attend today's event, but we begin with our Kenny Beck. As pressure mounts to shake up the ticket, Vice President Harris continues to campaign for the administration with a stop in Fayetteville this afternoon. That's where we find our Chris Peterson, who kicks off our political coverage. And Chris, kind of describe the security and the pulse of those in attendance today.
Biden-Harris campaign was careful about releasing details about the exact location and time of Vice President Kamala Harris's speech today, and there was a noticeable increase in the number of uniformed officers patrolling the gym here inside Westover High School in Fayetteville. This speech by the Vice President also comes at a time, as you mentioned, when top Democrats are calling for President Joe Biden to step down.
The ticket agent for a show that played here 4 years ago never paid off. After exhausting all of their options and trying to get the money back, the Theater Alliance of Winston-Salem reached out to WXII 12 News.
And I know for a fact that if you had not been involved, we would still be waiting on that refund. So we truly, truly appreciate that. Once they realized they might get some attention in the news that they didn't want, they acted fast. So that's exactly why we reached out to you.
The second case involves the same two students, but it's the vulgar language that was written on that girl's arm that started this trouble.
It was in big, bold black letters on her skin.
Now washed away, a derogatory and offensive racial slur. It was written in Sharpie on this 11-year-old's arm during a yearbook signing party at Southeastern Stokes Middle School on May 31st. It's the same day the girl's mother said she got a phone call from the school's principal.
He was like, the student wrote the N-word on your daughter.
Right now at 5 o'clock, mothers in the Triad are on a very critical mission.
They are participating in a big study to reduce racial disparities in birth and postpartum care in Forsyth County.
Joshua Davis joins us in studio tonight. Joshua, you spoke with the researchers involved here, and they're actually all moms themselves.
That's right, Devontae. The mothers I spoke to say their work goes beyond just improving outcomes related to childbirth. It's about giving women, specifically black women, the tools they need so they can advocate for themselves and each other.
North Carolina A&T has been a pioneer in providing resources and programs for black farmers. That includes a 100-year-old Reidsville woman who says the university has helped her pave the way for future generations and create seeds of change.
I accomplished things I wouldn't have accomplished if I hadn't been on the farm.
For a century, Lucille Graves says seeds, worms, cattle, and all things farming has been her passion. The 100-year-old Reidsville woman isn't afraid to get down and dirty. Her green thumb has made her a legend of sorts, but it hasn't come without obstacles, including farming through Jim Crow.
That's what makes the world go around when you're giving back to your community. There's no way that you can just take.
Well, anytime we can bring joy in someone's life, then that's what we're here for.
It was nice to see that someone said she matters. What she's doing matters.
You never know what an impact you made on somebody's life, but when you see them back in the community, giving back to others, you know that you've done something right.
Acts of kindness. I call them A-OKs. If you can do 2 A-OKs a day, you will be A-OK, and the world will be A-OK.
We are honoring a trailblazer who truly inspired the world and would have been 96 years old today. In honor of Maya Angelou's birthday, we're sharing incredible stories of inspiration.
From a young age, Presley began placing at shows, but then she met an unusual horse named Ralphie.
I just rode him a little bit, and then I was like, it's okay.
Honestly, somebody pretty much threw him away. He wasn't going to be enough, and his little front legs are crooked.
When I started showing him a lot more, I had really having fun with him.
You can find the duo tickling the ivories and strumming the violin strings every Tuesday at the Novant Health Cancer Institute in Winston-Salem.
She just sat and started playing one day, and they never told her to stop.
But their story goes much deeper than that. Marianne, a pleasing pianist, is also a patient here herself.
We've been doing this since my mother got her initial diagnosis.
One family impacted by Helene received some help from a complete stranger. A man found a photo album that had been swept away in the floodwaters. He was able to get it back to his owner just a few hours ago. Kara Peters was there to show us how this reunion was able to happen. Kara.
Picture this, a total stranger coming across a missing photo album in Boone. No name, no information. But less than 24 hours later, it's reconnected with its owners. Well, that's exactly what happened for Sean Vesti and Brittany Wilson. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Hey, I'm Brittany.
Nice to meet you, Brittany.
Nice to meet you.
But no words can describe the moment Brittany Wilson met the Good Samaritan that found her family's photo album, filled with childhood memories.
So why the bowling alley? Well, because at 100 years young,
He's got a lot of stamina.
Joe still bowls at least 3 times a week.
Every chance we get.
When there's time to spare, you'll find Joe here.
Good job, Judge.
Living life in the bowling lane.
And we saw so many veterans grinning from ear to ear. Mission accomplished. Our heroes are home. What was today like for you?
Very memorable. I couldn't take it all in. They're wonderful.
There was an unusual single-car crash in Asheboro not long ago that brought out departments from all over the county, and the Red Cross says they are all heroes.
I've been in the fire service for 23 years, and it's the first time for me, yeah.
It was a weird incident.
It was crazy. You normally don't see a car that high off the ground.
Did you know what you were getting into?
No.
April 10th, 2023, a driver sent their car down a retaining wall into the back of the Verizon store on East Dixie Drive in Asheboro and got stuck 12 feet off the ground. The Asheboro Fire Department got the call. Battalion Chief Ben Hicks was in charge at the scene.
The celebration is still ongoing on the court right now as NC State has punched their ticket to the NCAA men's basketball tournament. It's their first ACC tournament championship since 1987, and you could feel in the building the ghost of Jim Valvano was here the entire time. NC State played some of their best basketball this entire tournament. They came in losing 4 straight basketball games, and they run off 5 in a row. And the guys have all said it all season long, and they said it all tournament long. The talent was here. They believed the entire time. And there's a mantra right now with this team. They're saying out loud, why not us?
Tonight, the NC State men's and women's basketball teams are 1 win away from the national title game.
And the women, they're up first. They tip off in about an hour. We're, of course, bringing you team coverage tonight at 6 o'clock. Let's start with sports director John Johnson. He's live in Glendale, Arizona. John, take it away.
This is a story about what these 2 teams mean to our state. Boy, has it been a long wait. 26 years for the Lady Wolfpack, 41 for the men.
Whitberg, it's a long ways.
And while North Carolina and Duke racked up the wins, championships, and the glory, state fans began to wonder if they would ever get their chance. But something is different this year, thanks to this guy. With a little help from this guy. Plus, not to be overlooked, this team made us all realize something magical was happening. 2 teams, 1 school, both in the Final Four. All comes down to this. NC State doesn't get a lot of Hollywood endings, but now they got a shot to make history.
WXII 12 Sports presents Attack of the Pack, NC State's road to the title.
We're here in beautiful Glendale, Arizona, just outside of Phoenix. Welcome to Attack of the Pack. I'm John Johnson alongside Chris Peterson. Our Chanel Porter joins us from Cleveland, Ohio with the NC State women as they too are in the Final Four.
It's a story of perseverance and community. Watauga football had to overcome not only their opponents on the field, but also off. It's the sights and sounds of Friday nights in North Carolina. In Watauga County, that just means a little more. It's a chance for a community to rally and support its rising football stars. But nearly 3 months ago, all that was nearly taken away. In reality, it was a football team that would rally for its community.
Coming off a great season last year, like, we don't necessarily expect to have the same results, but we're going to work to have the same results that we experienced last year. And going in the beginning of the part of the season, you know, we're winning games, everything's going great, and then that night that the hurricane hit, it was kind of like a blow to the face.